Hi, this is Katie and this is my life with VEDS or vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Today's video is a health update. There's been a lot going on with my health in the last few months. If you've been following this channel, you know that I've had a renal artery dissection, I've had an iliac artery dissection, I've had a hepatic pseudo aneurysm, I had an MCL tear. There's just been a lot going on, and this video is a health update on all of those things. There's also going to be an update in here on Spironolactone, which I started in February, I think. And also, in case you notice in this video a little shine on my teeth, I started Invisalign not very long ago either. So that may be noticeable in this video, but hopefully not. I'm going to start with my iliac dissection. This happened back in November when I was in the hospital for my renal artery dissection, which happened November 4th. The iliac artery dissection happened while I was in the hospital, and we thought that this dissection was stable. Every doctor's appointment I had between like November and March, and every scan, the iliac artery is stable, the dissection is stable. And then in March, after I had my MCL tear and had like a full body CTA just to make sure that I didn't have anything else going on, because I got hit at full speed by two dogs at the dog park playing together, not paying attention. I found out my vascular surgeon took a closer look at the scans, and not only the scan that happened in March, but the ones before it. And that iliac dissection was actually growing since November. And I think the radiologist had marked it as stable, but it had actually been growing. And so in March, I found out that that iliac dissection had actually doubled in size since it first happened in November. And it lengthened, like the tear in the artery lengthened, and also the artery itself was widening, which was really scary to me. So I had a follow-up scan a month later in April and found out that it is stable now. So finally, it had stopped growing, and that is great news. There was some bad news in this appointment, and that is that the claudication pain that I've been feeling since this happened is probably permanent. So the iliac artery was more than 50% blocked, and because of that, I didn't have enough blood flow to support the kind of walking and stuff that I was doing before. And one of the ways to make that better is a walking program, which can be very painful after dissection because your muscles don't have enough blood flow for activity, and so your body's like, no, let's not do this. But if you keep doing it, from my understanding, it's supposed to help your body form new blood vessels that go kind of around that area and help support blood flow to the rest of the leg. I did have some benefit from the walking program that I did. Probably December, January, and February were when I felt the most improvement in my claudication pain. But I was never able to get further than like 15 minutes or so, maybe 20 minutes without, feeling intense pain, having to take a break. I think if I was on a mostly flat surface, I could make it a little longer. And if it was a lot of hills, which I live in an area with a lot of hills, sometimes a little less than that, I start feeling the pain, like the achiness of the claudication pain, almost immediately when I start walking, maybe within a minute or two. And I found out at the time of this appointment, it had been 5 months since the dissection, recording this video a little later than I had planned to, and so now it's been like 6 months. Because it's been so long, the benefits of the walking program have probably reached its peak, from my understanding. Like, it's probably plateaued, and I can go back and resume other activities that I like doing because the walking program is likely not going to help with the claudication pain any more than it already has. There were a couple options for surgery or medication intervention. The medication that I could try is an antiplatelet, but it has a higher risk of bleeding, and I'm already on an antiplatelet, which helped me stop all of those TIAs, transient ischemic attacks, or mini strokes that I had back between 2017 and 2018. And so I'm really hesitant to mess with that medication at all. In order to get on this other antiplatelet, I'd have to change my baby aspirin regimen, and I'm just really not ready to do that. Surgery is kind of the least desirable option because I have vascular EDS in that tissue. Things can happen unexpectedly in the surgery. And because I do have use of my leg, I'm not bound to a wheelchair. I don't have to use a cane. I just have to stop and take breaks a lot. I decided that that's not something that I really wanted to pursue at this time. So from here, I'm going to get another scan in 6 months, and we're going to see how that artery is doing. Maybe one day in the future it might need surgery if, it keeps growing or something, but right now, I don't. Okay, next I'm going to talk about my hepatic dissection and pseudoaneurysm. This hepatic dissection was diagnosed in March after my impact at the dog park. It was noted by the radiologist on a CTA that I had in the hospital, in the emergency room, but they also noticed it in the MRA that I had in February that was kind of more like a run-of-the-mill regular scan to make sure that my renal artery dissection was stable and that my iliac dissection was stable. And on that MRA, the previous radiologist in February didn't notice this hepatic dissection, but the radiologist who read the CTA in the ER was able to see it on the MRA. It was very, very small in February. So this did not happen during my impact with the dogs. We don't know if this happened sometime after I left the hospital in November or if it happened closer to March. All we really know is that sometime between November and February, I had a hepatic artery dissection. The hepatic artery is an artery that provides blood flow to the liver, and it kind of splits out into a left and right, and then my dissection is on an artery that is off of an artery, off of the main branch or something. Like it's very deep inside the liver. So it's a very small blood vessel originally. I don't know when this happened. I didn't feel it. There's nothing I can go back and say maybe that day because I had really severe pain. Like I really, really don't know. What I do know is that this aneurysm scared the shit out of me. Like I was very, very scared about this pseudoaneurysm because when I was first diagnosed with it in the hospital, in the ER in March, it was reported as pseudoaneurysm 7 millimeters, from previous size of 2 millimeters in February. So in my mind, when I first saw it, I was like, holy crap. Not only is this new information for me, but also it grew from 2 millimeters to 7 millimeters. Maybe it was 4 millimeters to 7 millimeters in a month. And that scared the crap out of me. So when it was first diagnosed, I told you all I wasn't going to stop going to the dog park. I wasn't going to stop doing these things that I really love doing, like playing my euphonium and going to the gym. And I was wrong. I got really, really scared about a week or two after, at least a couple weeks before my scan on April 11th, I was in my head about it. I could not get myself to do things that I liked to do that might cause that thing to rupture because I was so scared that it was still growing, and I just got really, really anxious about it, honestly. So I did stop going and playing my euphonium for a little while. I stopped going to the dog park. I stopped pushing myself to do my walking program, and I really just was so scared that this thing was going to rupture, and it messed with my head for my birthday, which was at the beginning of April. My scan wasn't until April 11th, and I was just like not even sure if I was going to live till April. It was just a mess. My head was totally a mess. But the good news is that I found out it did stabilize. It did not grow between March and my scan in April. In fact, it shrunk a little, which was great, great news that it actually shrunk just a little bit. Like just a millimeter, but wonderful. My vascular surgeon is going to scan it again in 6 months, and he encouraged me to go back to doing those activities that I like doing. He was so encouraging, and I really broke down in that appointment when I told him that I had stopped playing my euphonium and I had stopped going to the gym, and he was like, why did you stop doing these things? And I was like, because I was so scared, and I'm just like crying, and he was like, no, you need to go back and do those things. I think those are good for you. So it's been a couple weeks at least since the scan, maybe even 3 weeks now. And now that the information has kind of sunk into my brain, I've given it time to soak, I am going to start playing my euphonium again. I did take the dogs to the dog park the other day, and I've started walking again. So improvement in my mental health for sure. Finding out that this wasn't growing was definitely something I needed to hear. Okay, a quick update on my MCL, which I tore at the dog park in March. I was supposed to do physical therapy for this, and I have not kept up with it at all, but I have been walking on it. I have been able to resume my normal activities. I've got full range of motion back, and it's just sore sometimes if it's been inactive for a little while, so sometimes it wakes me up when I'm sleeping, or it's just sore after I've not moved it, and moving it around a little bit usually helps relieve that. So this is a-okay, totally fine. I saw my PT the other day and he evaluated it and he was like, yeah, you're fine. Like, I'm not worried about this MCL at all. So that's a win, and that's all I have on that. The next update is about a medication called Spironolactone. I started taking this, I think, mid-February after the VEDS research webinar at the end of January. My doctor started me out on a really, really small dose, and I wanted to try it just because there is some mouse data that shows it was effective in mice, and we don't have any more information on that. But I felt comfortable trying it because it has been used in so many other uses. It's already FDA approved, and the side effect profile is pretty low. So I thought, why not? I've got all these aneurysms going on. It's probably not going to hurt me, and if it does, I'll just stop taking it. So they started me on a small dose of like 12.5 milligrams, and after a couple months now, I've been titrating up. I'm at 50 milligrams. I haven't had any more events yet. It's still early. There's really no way to tell if it's working or doing anything that I know of, but I'm going to keep taking it, and my goal is to titrate up to 100 milligrams or as high as I can tolerate it. I really haven't noticed any side effects from this medication. I'm tired all the time, but I think I'm tired all the time already. Like, I already had that symptom before I started this spironolactone, so I'm really not sure if that's part of it or just part of my life now. Maybe from the atenolol, maybe from the losartan, like, who knows, but I am tired all the time. However, I don't have any lightheadedness or symptoms of feeling like I'm going to pass out or anything like that. They're doing blood work on my electrolytes to check my potassium and doing all the things necessary to make sure that I'm good. And so far, everything's been good. So just wanted to give you a quick update that I am on that medication. I know a lot of people in the VEDS community are getting on that medication. And as soon as there's a study available for me to enroll in to be part of answering that question of, hey, does this do anything for people with VEDS? I will plan to be a part of it. If you haven't heard about this, I'm going to put a link in the description of this video for the research update that I'm talking about. It came out of Hal Dietz's lab, and it was published by the VEDS movement. The actual research article that goes with this, I don't think has been published yet. I haven't seen it, at least. So I'll just link that research update from the VEDS movement in the description of this video, so you can go read it yourself if you want. Like I said, I started Invisalign not that long ago. I think I'm a few weeks into it now. I had a lot of dental crowding when I was a kid, and I had braces and headgear and like an expander and like all of this stuff. But unfortunately, several years ago, I was not really good about wearing my retainer, and my teeth shifted a little bit, which I was okay with until I got a crossbite and started biting my lip all the time when I was trying to eat. So I would be eating and then bleeding, and it was just a mess. So I finally decided to get that addressed. So I had to see a periodontist before I could proceed with Invisalign because I had significant gum recession. I had surgery for it once back in like 2013, and it receded again, and they just needed to make sure that any of the moves that they did with the Invisalign were not going to hurt my gums anymore. I have this really deep-seated fear about losing my teeth, even though I've never had a cavity, because my gum recession is just always present in my mind. The good news is that the periodontist signed off on it. All of the moves that are going to be made by the Invisalign are so minor, and they also are expected to help my gums and not hurt them. So that was fantastic news. So I only have to have it for a few months, and I'm already just a few weeks in, and everything has been super easy, much easier than braces, and I'm so glad I don't have to have an expander or headgear or all of that again. If you had that when you were a kid, let me know in the comments, because I think that expander was like the worst thing ever. These are all of my health updates. There'll be more videos coming up soon in that series that I'm doing on awareness of the major signs of VEDS, Loeys-Dietz, and Marfan syndrome. I'm a few videos in, and I think I'll be going for the minor symptoms soon too. So if you have any of those things that I've addressed in another video on, aneurysms are associated with VEDS, or pneumothorax is associated with VEDS and Marfan and Loeys-Dietz, share those videos to help us raise awareness of that, along with your story. That can help raise awareness and reach people who might not know about these conditions. Thanks for sharing it. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you soon.